Welcome to Faith Lessons. This is Dr. Scott Stripling, Provost at the Bible Seminary, and this is 1st and 2nd Chronicles. While 1st and 2nd Kings took us up to the period of the exile into Babylon, with Israel having already been taken away in 722, finally the southern kingdom falls and Nebuchadnezzar destroys the city, and we have several waves of captives that are taken away to Babylon. But that's where Kings ends. Chronicles takes us a little bit further, and it's written after the exile in Babylon. So we have a faith community in Jerusalem with people like Jeremiah who are ministering to them there. Then we have a faith community in Babylon in exile where people like Ezekiel, for example, are ministering to them there. So 2nd Chronicles, we don't know who the author is. We just call him the chronicler. But this author is writing from the perspective of after it's all over, and he's assessing, again, the kingdoms. The good kings of Israel and Judah, the bad kings of Israel and Judah. We see the prophets mixing in and out, Jeremiah, Isaiah, the pre-classical prophets of Elijah and Elisha. And as they're looking at what God has done, the emphasis is on retribution or God's covenant faithfulness. Do we look to God for help in times of need, or do we look internally toward ourselves or even externally to other nations to bail us out? Clearly, the message of the prophets and of the chronicler is that we should look to God, His goodness, His grace, His justice, and His mercy. And we see an amazing story when Jerusalem is about to fall, and they seek the Lord, and Hezekiah redirects the Gihon spring and digs a tunnel through bedrock to bring it inside the city wall. And amazingly, a synchronism was found archaeologically before World War I, and when they discovered that tunnel, which we now call Hezekiah's tunnel, it had an inscription that told the same story that we find in the Bible, but from the Assyrians' point of view. And so we see, again, a reminder that we're talking about real people, real places, and real events. One of the interesting things that we have in the books of Chronicles are the genealogies. And many times people ask me, why do we need to know who begat so-and-so, who begat so-and-so? But it becomes very important chronologically. So for example, you have in 1 Chronicles chapter 6, verses 33 through 37, you have 18 generations going from David back to Moses. And so we saw when we were talking about 1 Kings that it was 479 years from the building of Solomon's temple to the Israelite exodus from Egypt. Now in Chronicles, we know how many generations that was, and we know each person's name. And so by adding then a 19th generation to get us to Solomon, and then assuming 25 years for a generation, we can see a beautiful synchronism, how God's word coincides with itself, how the different biblical writers are all giving us the same theology and the same chronology and the same geography. If we had to pick one verse that stands out in Chronicles, it would be 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. And that's the message of 1st and 2nd Chronicles.
Thanks for listening. Stay connected with us at thebibleseminary.org and subscribe to this podcast.